Michael Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis return in Halloween Kills. Nintendo sending us back to our islands with lots of new things to do in Animal Crossing New Horizons. And we know the details on Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack. Plus, I've survived a bunch of punishing boss battles to bring you my review of Metroid Dread. All that and the latest and everything cool today in The Rundown. Hey, welcome to The Rundown, everybody. My name is Victor Lucas, and I'm so happy that you joined us here in the Electric Playground. Today's episode is brought to you by The Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation. They've got tournaments happening every single weekend that you don't want to miss out on, and you can find out all about them at tgs.gg. All right, today's episode is dedicated to Jamie Lee Curtis, who is the star of Halloween Kills, which I'm going to be reviewing for you here in a second. She dressed up as her mom, Janet Leigh, from the movie Psycho for the Halloween Kills premiere, which I just think is so sweet and so cool. And Jamie Lee Curtis is just so freaking rad. I love her. And that's why this episode is dedicated to her. All right, let's talk about some of the big announcements from Nintendo today. In an Animal Crossing Focus Direct, Nintendo announced a whole bunch of upgrades coming to Animal Crossing New Horizons, including paid DLC. Everything is going to be launching on November 5th. First, the core game is being upgraded to version 2.0, and it's going to feature a bunch of new designs. You can create new fences and customize all kinds of stuff within the game. There's a new tool to create a ladder so you can run around your island a lot easier. You can find these little musical creations called gyroids in the ground, and you can customize those and have them all kind of making different musical notes and sounds, which is pretty cool. There's also this ability to travel with this captain that will, called Cap'n, that will sing some sea chanties along the way and take you to some very cool new islands. They've adjusted the camera mode so you can tilt it down to eye level perspective and get into the shot and have some better pictures that way. There's a new cafe run by a looks like a pigeon named Brewster, and you can get into conversations with the townsfolk that live on your island, and also other people from other islands can come and visit you as well, and you can have a cup of coffee with them, which is pretty cool. There's a new open market on Harv's Island as well, which will give you all kinds of new customization options, and cooking recipes is being added to the game as well. It's a massive, massive upgrade, but that's just a little taste of what Nintendo's got planned for Animal Crossing New Horizons. There's also paid DLC called Happy Home Paradise, where you become basically an interior designer working with different clients and setting them up on their own islands and customizing everything within their home. You can also build different facilities like classrooms and hospitals. It's enormous. It's a gigantic new upgrade, and it greatly expands Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's $25 US, but it looks like you're getting like a full game within the game. It's so big, and you're going to spend tons and tons of hours in there. I know my kid is going to go crazy for this. So it's $25 US, or it's about $32 in Canada, which seems like a pretty fair price for the amount of content that you're going to get. But along with all of this exciting Animal Crossing news, Nintendo also revealed more details about Nintendo Switch Online plus Expansion Pass. Now, Nintendo Switch Online allows you to play Super Nintendo and NES games as part of the subscription service, plus all the online connectivity and the free multiplayer games and stuff that they give. But the Expansion Pass obviously adds Nintendo 64 games like Super Mario 64 and Star Fox 64, Mario Kart 64, a lot of 64s. We got that with the N64. But it also adds Sega Genesis, so you can play a bunch of old classic Sega Genesis games. The Expansion Pass is launching with 9 N64 games and 14 Sega Genesis games. The N64 titles include Dr. Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario Tennis, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Winback Covert Operations, and Yoshi's Story. On the Sega Genesis, you're going to get the Castlevania Bloodlines game, Contra Hardcore, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes, Musha, which is pretty cool, Phantasy Star 4, The End of the Millennium, Rystar, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 2, and Strider. That's a pretty cool collection of games, and one of the other great things about this, because it's part of Nintendo Switch Online, of course, is that multiplayer games can be played online, and so you can have up to 4 people playing online together in something like Star Fox 64, which is pretty cool, and you can jump in and play online games together with your friends in the Sega Genesis collection as well. All of that stuff sounds great. I'm super excited that these games are coming, and when you bundle in the fact that Happy Home Paradise, the DLC for Animal Crossing, is included in the price, it seems pretty fair, except that price is very high. We're jumping from a $20 per year subscription for the core Nintendo Switch Online service that gives you Super Nintendo and NES games to a full $50 US, so $30 more than 100% more to play N64 games and Sega Genesis games. But if you're an Animal Crossing fanatic, it's a no-brainer because you're getting that DLC included in there as well. That is a huge jump in price, and we're edging up close to something like the Xbox Live Gold service that you can get a year's subscription for. It's not too much more than the yearly subscription for Nintendo Switch Online plus Expansion Pass, and you get new games with that, and you get some kind of unplayed gems and undiscovered gems. They're not all great with Xbox Live Gold. Now, if you factor in Game Pass, that's of course going to be a couple times more than this annual subscription fee for Nintendo Switch Online plus Expansion Pass. But look at what you get with Game Pass. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this is too expensive, and the first thing that I thought of is, why doesn't Nintendo have Virtual Console running in concert with this? Why don't they also have Virtual Console and give players a choice? If they're already going to provide a lot of these games as part of some kind of downloadable service, why don't you offer players the opportunity to just go to the eShop and buy these exact games if they want? And the other thing to take into consideration, the N64 games on here is a pretty sweet deal, but the Sega Genesis collection on the Nintendo Switch is already readily available. It goes on sale all the time because it's been out for a few years, and it's fantastic. You can also pick up the Sega Genesis Mini, which has 40 fantastic games on it, I think more than 40. The Sega Genesis has been around in a bunch of different collections over the years, so it's a little less shiny, although the online play is pretty cool. I just think that Nintendo should have set the price considerably lower. The announcement went up today on YouTube, and I noticed already within a couple of hours that it had 5,000 thumbs down, which is pretty rare for a Nintendo published video on their YouTube channel. I think people are a little bit shocked by how much more the expansion pass is. The expansion pass costs more than the core service. That's just weird. When have you ever known an expansion pass to anything costing more than the core game that it was attached to? It's very strange, and I don't know if Nintendo's, the machinery's in place. It's launching October 25th. I want to know from you guys, though, what do you think of the pricing? What do you think of the services? What do you think of the Animal Crossing announcements today? Let me know in the comments below. I especially want to know if you are planning to get the expansion pass, and tell me why. All right? Okay, let's move over into the movie world. I've watched Halloween Kills, and I've got my review for you right now. It's the spooky season, so I was very pleased to jump into Halloween Kills, which is directed by David Gordon Green, who directed the previous Halloween movie. It stars Jamie Lee Curtis. She is back in a new trilogy with David Gordon Green sort of overseeing the production. Danny McBride is one of the producers. John Carpenter is an executive producer and provides the soundtrack to this. Johnny Millennium and I reviewed Halloween a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it. It was a terrific film, and it really evoked the 1970s spirit of the classic original. And I think Halloween Kills is an extension of that. It's beautifully shot to evoke a different era, which I really like. There's some flashback sequences as well, but it all kind of blurs and blends the timing in this, because it's been 40 years since the original Halloween hit the screens and became a sensation and spawned a whole bunch of sequels. And this movie picks up on that, but the modern cinematography doesn't look all that much different from the classic cinematography. There's lots of really uncomfortable tight shots on characters' faces. Everybody looks very natural and very sweaty and very very dirty and bloody, and it's unnerving. It's not glamorous, and in a 1970s way, it really gives you a sense of being there, being present with these characters, feeling the breath on your skin, their terrified breath on your skin, as they're being chased by this relentless pursuer who just cannot be stopped. You know, that's the kind of supernatural charm of Michael Myers. He is just an impressive foe for not only Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, and her family, but also the whole town of Haddonfield. He just is pursuing everybody and stabbing people and bludgeoning them with all kinds of objects. There's this incredible sequence where Michael Myers takes on a whole suite of first responders. The movie picks up right at the end of Halloween, the previous movie, and Jamie Lee Curtis is rushing to the hospital and she's bleeding because she was inflicted with all kinds of damage. You have to see the previous movie. This movie exists in this weird out-of-context setting if you don't have any correlation or connection to at least the previous movie. And then, of course, everything is benefited if you've got the full range of, inside illusions and connections dating back to all of the Halloween sequels, right from the original. I had seen the original Halloween, but I'm not a huge horror movie person, so I didn't follow along with everything. I've probably seen a few of these old classic Halloweens on VHS, but they didn't stick with me. But that didn't stop me from really enjoying the previous Halloween, and I also did enjoy this one, but it does feel incredibly, which is kind of silly to say, and it feels much darker than the last Halloween, and it's really a gory slasher pick. Like, a lot of death happens. It's crazy how many people Michael Myers brutalizes and kills in this movie. And you'll see famous actors and supporting actors and stuff. They'll pop up and they don't last long. And it kind of takes you out of it a little bit because you're like, I know that guy from that thing, and then he's dead. But it was still intriguing, and I certainly enjoyed the craftsmanship of the film. I love the music that John Carpenter wrote. It's just so cool and out of time and eerie and perfect for this kind of film, just like it was when he crafted the music for the originals. I like the way that it was made. I thought the performances were all right. There is some heavy-handed dialogue that is a little on the soap opera side of things, a little silly. Stuff escalates, and you see the fear and the tension and the wacky kind of like mob mentality that the town takes on. A lot of poor choices, as we see often in slasher flicks. And Anthony Michael Hall has a great supporting role in this. He actually does a really solid job. He's very believable, even though his character Tommy Doyle is slightly over the top, and everything is just super heavy and dramatic, and there's no nuance there. He's just like in your face, but you believe him. And it was fun to kind of see the clockwork mechanism of all of this stuff taking shape. I just wasn't emotionally along for the ride. I didn't really care too much about the terror that these people were facing. I mean, a few times it was like, no, you dummy, don't go that way. But it felt a little less powerful than the previous Halloween film did. And I think part of that might be because this is the second part. It's the middle part of a trilogy. Halloween Ends is scheduled to come out next year, and it's supposed to wrap up everything with this new trilogy. And I'm excited to see that because it might make this film feel a little bit stronger, and it might make a pretty terrifying Halloween triple feature next year as well, to watch them all together. But yes, I did much prefer the first David Gordon Green Halloween film to this one. But I think if you really liked that one, I think you're still going to get some enjoyment out of this for sure. It does carry the narrative along, and everybody does do good work in this as well. I'm not obsessive about Halloween lore, and I don't know all of the details and all of the connections. I know a lot of cast members are returning, and they populate this film, and it's cool to know that, but I don't have stakes in it, no pun intended. I did enjoy it, though. I'm going to give Halloween Kills a 7 out of 10. This has been a week of getting lost in the challenge and the exploration of Metroid Dread. Thank you to Nintendo Canada for sending out the review code. I was looking forward to this game, I think, more than any other, once I knew that it was headed our way, more than anything else that's coming out in 2021. And so I really wanted to give myself space to soak it up and enjoy this whole experience. I've been loving going back and playing some of the classic 2D Metroid games. I played Metroid Zero Mission in the summer and I loved it. I streamed some classic NES Metroid not too long ago. I absolutely adored the last kick at Metroid that Mercury Steam did, Metroid Samus Returns for the 3DS. And so this game was high on my list for something to be excited about in this crazy, tumultuous year. And I have to say that most of my wishes and hopes and desires for this game were fulfilled. But I want to get this off my chest right away. The bosses are excruciatingly tough, at least for me. You may not find them to be as challenging and as tough. I did find it like I was pulled out of the experience thinking and reflecting on the many Metroid bosses that I've fought before, if I've ever felt quite as challenged before as I did in this game, and I don't think that I have. I know I've had moments of frustration playing Samus Returns and Zero Mission and back in the day Super Metroid, but this game is something else, and I think it's kind of an answer and a reflection to this movement in video games to kind of up the difficulty for serious players out there. I do think, honestly, it's going to be a bit of a barrier for first-timers that might own a Switch and want to try kind of a modern take on a 2D classic Metroid experience. It certainly is analogous to the NES difficulties. When I played Metroid 1 on the NES and streamed that not too long ago, I was like shocked at how challenging it was to take on some of the fights in that. But it's a little out of context in modern gaming. I mean, a lot of modern stuff really holds your hands and kind of guides you through a little bit more, is a little bit more forgiving, even gives you the chance to turn down the difficulty if you're having trouble with boss. There's none of that here. So I think this might be a bit of a shock to the system for a lot of modern players out there, even though it's absolutely worth their time. And what I recognized once I did beat these bosses and power through and get all my excellent power-ups is that, first of all, it feels incredible to defeat the bosses and to move forward and to progress into this game. It's absolutely rewarding, and you feel so empowered and like a pro, like you're really kind of getting the game. And then you'll hit another wall where you're stuck on another boss. At least I did for 45 minutes. It's like, oh my god, I can't take enough. Okay, one more time. It's definitely one of those. Okay, one more time. I want to play one more time. Which is great. But yes, it was like, okay, choke point. Okay, I'll explore for a bit. Oh, choke point. Oh, okay, okay. And then I'll explore for a bit, and then another choke point. There was a lot of that. You question your sanity a bit as you're in the middle of those fights, but when you beat the boss, you feel like, oh yeah, that was earned. That was earned. And the thing that I recognized about those fights specifically is that they're all tutorials. They're all about guiding you to utilize all of the tools at your disposal. The ability to, flash move quickly away from a swipe from a claw or something, or to screw attack and bounce around and do a whole spin around somebody that's firing at you in 360 degrees. The melee counter is an incredibly important element in your arsenal. It's so effective all the way along. Whether you're fighting a boss or just a regular creature along the way, you're always rewarded for that perfect timing. And that is absolutely amplified when you get into the boss fights. If you've got good timing, you're going to be fine. I was really struggling with it, and I could not comprehend how anyone could do well holding the Switch in handheld mode and using the Joy-Con and the buttons on top of the Switch itself and being animated and into it and doing all of the timing and mechanics and complete the game. I know there are players that will have no problems with that, but I just could not get a beat on that, especially after playing hours of the game using the Switch Pro controller. That was absolutely my preferred way to play it. It was beautiful on the Nintendo Switch OLED screen, but it was just much more enjoyable to get lost in the game and a lot more fair for me to play it on the television screen. And it is gorgeous on the TV screen as well. This is another one of Nintendo's first-party titles that kind of showcases that even if they're taking their time to get us to 4K gaming and full fidelity visuals and things, it's okay because games like this just look extraordinary. This is a beautiful game filled with creepy monsters and lots of little animated mechanical creatures and beasts and things and turrets and stuff that are going to be firing at you. The Emmy robot sequences are absolute standouts in this game. Every single one of them becomes progressively more terrifying. Even though there's a familiarity and you start to pick up on the routines, it never ceases to be like, oh my god, how am I going to survive this fracking thing? But you do. You just have to stick with it and persevere. That's the thing about this game. You have to stick with it. And there's so many cool little details. You know, I saw David Jaffe was talking about a specific sequence where he didn't know that he was going to be shooting into a wall in order to access another point in the game. And that's a very, very sound comment from a designer, from a game director that really knows mechanics and guiding players through experience. But one of the things that is true about Metroid now and has always been true about Metroid is that eventually, not only do you acquire the sixth sense to understand where you can go and what might be hidden around walls, and you pick that up, but you also pick up a radar device that allows you to kind of sense the area around you. And then you pick up the tools. You know, you pick up better weaponry and better bombs and better wave weapons and things like that that will shoot through walls. And every one of those upgrades, whether they're the ion upgrades or whether they're the Chozo upgrades where you shoot the little ball and out comes the gift. It always feels like Christmas when you get those. But every incremental upgrade of your ability is just so freaking satisfying. And also, I did find that this is a game that once you beat it, it's like, okay, at least for me, I'm going to put it away for a bit, but I know I'm going to be playing this one again. It's just so elegantly designed, so intricately woven for a cool experience and surprise. It boggles my mind, honestly, how the developers would jigsaw puzzle where you would go and how it would loop around and what would be cut off and what part of the map would be accessible and what part of the world you really need to get to. And you look at the game kind of like from a micro level, and it's room to room, and you're trying to figure out all the secrets in every room. And then eventually, as your powers increase, it becomes much more of a macro experience. And the whole environment of this planet ZDR becomes where you need to go and explore. And so you're bouncing around the map and going from left to right and, you know, getting into the water and into the lava. And all of these things that were impediments become your home. You know, you make yourself at home on this alien planet. The beasts become much less threatening until you get to the bosses. And then the bosses, you shake your fists and you just power through it. You play it again and again and again, and you think about giving up. At least I did a couple times. And then you don't, and you get through it. This is an extraordinary Nintendo Switch game. It's not my favorite. I don't even know if it's my favorite Metroid 2D experience, but it's excellent, and it definitely deserves to be in your collection. And I really hope that we don't have to wait for another 2D Metroid experience. I hope people are buying it. My fear is that people are buying it, and people are going to get really frustrated with some of the boss fights. Because, you know, the exploration stuff and the enemies that you encounter, apart from the Emmys, I guess those are kind of like mini bosses, are not too tough to kind of figure out, but the bosses are challenging. Holy crap. At least I thought so. But yeah, I still love this game. I really do. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for the rundown today. I'll be back soon with a brand new one. In the meantime, please hit that subscribe button and that little bell if you dig our videos. Also, check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/EPN. I stream there all the time, and I'm going to be streaming the Asus TUF F15 gaming laptop, games on that, which is something that you can actually win. You can head to facebook.com/Electric Playground for the details on that. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon, and until then, play forever.